today I'm going to break down everything wrong with No, I Am Not Human. I'm going to go through the entire game, pointing out any plot holes or mistakes I run into along the way. Now, before I get into it, I want to make one thing clear. Nothing I say should take away from the fact that this game is amazing, and I have immense respect for the developers who put in their hard work to bring it to life. Now, with that being said, no game is perfect, so let's dive in. No, I'm Not Human throws you into a world that has been completely wrecked by solar flares. These flares didn't just wipe out technology. They somehow caused creatures called visitors to crawl up from the ground and start impersonating humans. You play as a survivor living alone in your home, trying to figure out who's still human and who's not. The entire game revolves around one big question. Can you tell the difference between humanity and a visitor? It's a psychological horror game with multiple endings, meaning the story changes based on your choices. Your moral decisions, who you let in, who you reject, and who you trust shape how the world unfolds. Throughout the story, you meet some really memorable characters, like the cashier girl and the mysterious cat lady, each with their own secrets that change how you understand what's actually happening. Every playthrough starts the same way. Your neighbor knocks on your door to check in on you. He tells you about the solar flares and how visitors have started appearing. Once he leaves, you can explore your house, and this is where No, I'm Not Human starts to really shine. You have a small number of tools, a radio, a phone, and a few windows that let you peek outside. These simple things do a lot to pull you into the world. You can find hidden phone numbers scattered around your home, and if you call them, you'll uncover bits of lore. The radio also plays emergency broadcasts, and as the days pass, you can hear society slowly falling apart. This setup builds a sense of dread better than most horror games I've ever played, but once the actual gameplay loop starts, some cracks begin to show. The entire game revolves around a day and night system. During the day, you manage your home and check on anyone you've let inside. At night, strangers show up to your door asking to be let in. You can question them, ask where they come from and what they've seen, or how they feel about the visitors, and based on their answers, you decide whether you want to let them in or leave them outside. Each night, you can also watch TV broadcasts, which tell you how to identify each type of visitor, and it's almost like a survival guide. The issue is, this information is way too clear. It removes a lot of the mystery that should make games scary. Instead of forcing players to find things out through clues or conversation, the game just straight up gives you the answers. As it stands, I feel like the TV broadcasts give too much information, and the horror of not knowing begins to fade. During the daytime, you can check on people living with you and make sure they're not visitors. You perform different tests, checking on their teeth to see if they're too perfect, examining their hands for dirt, or asking tricky questions to see how they respond. Some people panic and others make excuses, and it's up to you to decide who's lying. You kill a human and you lose a valuable ally. You let a visitor stay alive and they'll kill a friendly survivor later on. This system is brilliant. It captures what the game is supposed to do best. It builds doubt. But after a while, that tension can start to fade because of the repetition. Sorry to interrupt, but if you are enjoying today's video, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. This is a really small channel and everything helps me out so much. Anyways, back to the video. Early on, the gameplay loop is exciting, but as time goes on, it becomes very predictable. Each day looks the exact same. At night, a stranger knocks. You ask a few questions, you make your choice, then you run the same daytime checks again. There's not much variation, and once you learn the basic mechanics, fear turns into a routine. The longer you play, the less scary it feels, not because the atmosphere fades, but because the structure doesn't change. You can only play for a couple of playthroughs before things begin to get boring. What starts as a survival horror slowly turns into a pattern. It's still immersive, but after several game days, you start wishing something would shake things up. Maybe a visitor who acts normal for a few days before snapping, or events that force you to go outside your house. The foundation is strong, but the variety isn't there. Now, there are some events, such as the crazy hunter guy coming to your house and asking you if you're a visitor yourself, and if you get the answers wrong, it'll kill you. But I wish there was more of that implemented into the game, because it is so fun. It is amazing. And now, I know this game is made by a very small developing team, but it has so much potential to expand beyond what it already is. Now, I want to talk about the pale visitor. Every so often, he knocks on your door, and if you're completely alone, or if your home is filled with other visitors, he breaks in and kills you, instantly ending your game. He's one of the best examples of how to make a player constantly paranoid. You never know when he'll show up. and his presence forces you to keep at least one trustworthy human alive. But here's where things get a little bit weird. I mean, why does he even bother knocking? The creature is shown tearing through, whole squads of soldiers, so if he's able to do that, what is a couple of civilians in a house to him? Now, the game does mention that he's just following orders from someone above him, which is a really cool idea, but it feels more like a missed opportunity for gameplay convenience. One of No, I'm Not Human's biggest selling points is its premise of multiple endings based on player choice. And while that's technically true, once you replay the game, it becomes clear that your decisions actually don't change as much as you think. No matter what you do, the Pale Visitor always arrives, civilization collapses, and certain players always die. Sure, you might get slightly different endings, but the main storyline remains the same, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because I like the simplicity a lot of the time. The problem I have with it is that the game feels like it's giving you freedom, but in reality, it's leading you to those same major story beats every single time, and after your first playthrough, it becomes even more noticeable. This doesn't ruin the game, but it does weaken its replayability, which is disappointing because the setup is perfect for multiple truly unique paths. Now, I want to talk about the story and lore a little bit because this is where things can get a little confusing. The game throws around a ton of ideas of what visitors actually are. Some notes suggest that they're ancient creatures that lived underground and woke up after the solar flare. Others hint that they might be alien life forms or the result of government experiments. A little mystery is great, but when everything is vague, it stops feeling mysterious and starts feeling incomplete. The best horror games give you just enough to form your theory. Here, you're missing too many pieces to make anything stick. And let's not forget the biggest unresolved question. What do the visitors even really want? Are they replacing humans? Studying us? Punishing us? No one knows. The game never explains it. Even the Pale Visitor, the strongest one, talks about giving orders but never reveals who gave them to him. Without a lot of context, that's a lot of missed opportunity. Alright, now I'm going to move on to the endings. There are several different endings, each tied to their own choices and moral obligability? I can't say that word right, ever. The human ending, if you manage to keep real humans alive and protect them, you escape the house and find a small group of survivors. They believe there's still hope for humanity, hinting that people are beginning to fight back. This is supposed to be the good ending. And there's the neutral ending. You survive, but everyone else dies, leaving you completely alone and the world outside looks worse than ever. It's implied that humanity is basically done for. And then the corruption ending. If you let too many visitors in, your house gets overrun and you slowly become one of them. It's creepy and well executed, but it does raise another logical problem. If visitors could just convert you the whole time, why did they wait until there was enough of them? It would be cool if you found lore fragments that farther explain this. No, I'm Not Human is one of the best horror indie games to come out this entire year. It hits all the beats that you would expect. It's creepy, it's interesting, it has cool lore stories, and it took the internet by storm, and it's no question why. It's an amazing game with fun twists and fun mechanics and ideas, and everything I say in this video is just because that's what my channel is. It's a critique channel. That does not mean that this video game was not amazing. And despite all of its flaws, the game doesn't rely on cheap jump scares. It relies on smart psychological horror and that feeling of unease and isolation. And I prefer that over cheap jump scares every single day. And maybe that's the entire point. Maybe the visitors aren't supposed to make sense because that gives the player more room for freedom to create their own story. Maybe that's why people flocked to it so quickly. It gives that nice feeling of mystery, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just depends on who the player is and what they prefer. I feel like the overall story of the game focuses on paranoia and how quickly you can turn other humans against each other. Either way, No, I'm Not Human is one of the funnest horror games I've played this year. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.